Okay, let's see. Off, on. Stream appears to be live. Alright, I think I'm good to go. Alright. Hello! Shadowcat back! It's Sunday, it's time to get back to the Sunday stream, back to Tabletop stream. We're back to Magic the Gathering. We're still working on creatures. It's a lot of creatures to go through, but we're actually making really good progress. Especially since we got to skip like a whole bunch of them, so that was nice. Now that we've got everything settled and we know what we're doing, we don't actually have that much left to do. We have some more animals left to do. We have constructs left to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the constructs because they're going to be a little bit weird. But we'll have the constructs done. And we still need to go through and revisit the classes that we've already done, as well as get through all of those, but that's all we got left. Some animals, some robots, and some classes. We do those, and we're done. After that, we can move on to another part of the Magic the Gathering system. I'm not sure what part that is yet. Kind of making some of this up as I go along. But I do have some ideas, because we still need to do things like, how do they actually planeswalk? I need to go back and revisit the mana system because there's some things that we need to add into there. And we still have to finish up the actual sheet for the Planeswalker as a class. Yeah, there's still a lot to do. So we're going to get right into it. Before I do that, though, I do say I have people in the chat. Blizzard is in the chat. Hello, Blizz. Good to see you. JP is in the chat. Hello, JP. Good to see you. JP says, I like the music. Sounds like a heist planning montage. I mean, that's good. I'm glad that you like the music. It's supposed to be royalty-free music. However, I keep getting dinged on it, so YouTube kind of sucks. Anyway, though, we're going to get into this. Let's go ahead and just bring in what we need. We're going to need our spreadsheet with everything that we're working on. And we'll need our browser. So we have our reference points, and we'll take a quick look at this. So the last time we were here, we finished up the humanoid races that only look humanoid, and some of those are really powerful, like the angels, demons, gods, stuff like that. A lot of them were just not that special. They were things like ghosts and shades and zombies and things like that. So nothing really special there, except for the vampires. We did the sapient non-humanoids, which was really interesting because they were just they're all over the place. They were different. And now we need to get into these non-humanoid races without their own subtype. This is going to be a little bit weird. So, non-humanoid, which means they do not just have a head, arms, legs, humanoid. They can be, or they can look like literally anything. And we're going to start with the cephalids. If you don't know what a cephalid is, that's like a cephalopod, which means, it says down here, part octopus or squid. And so, for that, I mean, what would we even do for that? The thing about the cephalids is that they're just octopuses. We've got an octopus up here. So there's an octopus. We don't have a squid as well. So what makes these guys different? I guess we'll take a look. Cephalids. It is an obsolete creature type that was used for cards that depicted anthropomorphic octopus-like creatures having tentacles and a highly flexible body. With the release of Modern Horizons 3, it was consolidated into the octopus type to have a more consistent with how the other humanoid animals are typed. Okay, right. So they had them as their own thing, then they folded them into octopuses, and now you can have an octopus something else that's kind of uplifted. Which means that I think we can treat the cephalid the same way that we treated the humanoid races without their own subtype. Which, I mean, I don't see them in here, but sure, it did mention that there were merfolk. We did merfolk above, though. I wonder, do they have examples? It says there's 28 cards here that have it. It says they were designed to replace merfolk in the Odyssey block. They generally have abilities that involve library, hand, or creatures without flying. They're generally used as utility creatures, such as the Cephalid Illusionist. Let's take a look. The Cephalid Illusionist here, and I can't scroll up high enough to see the picture, but that's okay. It is a Cephalid Wizard. So, very similar to what we saw with the other humanoid races. That was the centerpiece of the extended combo deck, the Lawan Cephalid Empress. And this one, of course, is a creature Cephalid Legend, so yeah, they're using it exactly the same way they were using the Avians, the Leonin, things like that. Which means we can treat them pretty much the same way. We're just going to take this intelligence modifier, and we're going to give it to them. Well, no, because actually, since it is not an animal first, that's not going to work, because that's just going to give them a 16 in intelligence. No, we can't do that. Instead, we're going to do this. To put them on par with these, we need to account for both of them at once. So, for an animal, their intelligence gets up to 2. They get a bonus to dexterity and wisdom. Then, if it's an uplifted species like the Kitsune, they get a +6 to their intelligence. That would bring them up to an 8. Meaning that for this, if we wanted to put it on par with the other ones, it's going to be a +2 dexterity, a +2 wisdom, and a -2 to their intelligence. Which almost seems a little bit weird talking about octopuses since they're one of the smartest things on the planet. But, for the sake of consistency, this keeps us up to date with the rest of the creatures in the deck. And I will take the consistency over any real-world parallels. The Thalid is already done. We did that one earlier. Next is going to be the Sporoloth. I think those are mushroom people. Yeah, Sporoloth are fungus folk. And they don't even have a section. The fungus folk does, though. It's literally just listed as fungus. 68 cards have this on it. It was fungus is a printed creature type, didn't show up until the Fallen Empire set. Most of the creatures that made saprolings, that also premiered in that set, were fungi. The first printed card to later become a fungus, which was the Fungusaur, was an alpha. Old card. At the time it was just the Fungusaur, but it would later be eroded to the Fungus Dinosaur. Okay, fair enough. We haven't done anything like that yet, though. As far as I know. Yeah, over here we've got plants and fungi. And so anything that we do here is probably going to have a knock-on effect over there too. But let's think about it. It's a fungus. What does that mean? Is it going to be smart? Probably not. Is it going to be wise? Probably not. Charismatic? Probably not. It's a mushroom. It's a walking mushroom. It's an angry mushroom, but it's a mushroom nonetheless. So, what am I supposed to give it? It's like trying to assign stats to a fern. I have no idea what you're supposed to look like. For right now, I think I'm going to simply just... I'm not going to give you a bonus. I'm not giving any bonuses for this one. It doesn't deserve it. It's a mushroom. Okay. And that brings us to the crossbreeds. I did not format this right. I can do that now, though. Perfect. Alright, so crossbreeds. We have the Chimera, the Mutant, the Orc, the Vulvar, and the Weird. So, chimeras. I know what chimeras are. The fact is that chimeras are not generally intelligent. They are kinda, sometimes. Depends on the context, honestly. If we come back here to this. Clockwork, Cyclops, Cats. Where is the Chimera? I don't see it. CH. There it is. Alright, here's the Chimera. Per Pathfinder. If we look at the stats... Okay, there we go. Strength of 19, Dex 12, Con 17. Intelligence is 4. Now, intelligence being 4 actually puts them higher up than most animals. An intelligence of 4 is basically dogs, horses, anything that can be trained. They understand language, but they don't speak any kind of language, and they don't really communicate. So... we've got that. Other than that, though, what are we going to do with them? The fact is, they don't have to be an exact chimera because these are just echoes. We just need to have stats that roughly represent. So, what I think we can do is borrow from what we do with the animals, except instead of set intelligence to 2, it's going to be set int to 4. And then plus 2 dexterity, plus 2 wisdom. So there, that'll better reflect the fact that it is an animal, but it is a little bit better than the animals. So we've got that. Next is going to be the mutant, which seems a little bit overly broad. It's a creature type for cards that depict beings altered by unnatural factors, whether that be magical or biological in origin. So the first card to bear this was the Misformed Mutant in Onslaught, although the Goblin Mutant from Ice Age was later issued errata to become a mutant as well. Mutants are green and blue majority, but they have appeared in all colors. A large majority of mutants were printed in concordance with 2 peculiar instances, the Mirai influence, the Onslaught block, and the Simic Combine during Dissension. So they can theoretically be found on any plane. Yeah, that's kind of what they're saying. They can be any color, they can be any plane, they can be anything. So there's not really a whole lot we can do here. What we can do is basically treat them like we would treat any other extremely diverse race, and that's simply going to be a +2 to any. And you know what? I'm not even gonna... I'm gonna come up here and just copy and paste. We'll steal from the humans. so we can paste it in there. There we go. And JP says, pre-apology, only here for another 30 minutes, then off to brunch. I could go for some brunch right about now. Bring me back some pancakes. Alright, we're moving on. Next is going to be orgs. I like orgs. I use orgs. They're fun. So orgs are big red creatures used for cards that depict a dominarian race of half-breeds between orcs and ogres. Which, you know, that's great. I love it. The fact is that I can absolutely make half orcs and half ogres in Pathfinder. That's not a big deal. I might even have templates for it. If I come back here... Templates. Where are they? Here we go. All templates. I want half. Here we go. Halves. Half Babu, half Celestial, half Dragon, half Fiend, half Johnny, half Serpent template, half Umbral. Huh. There is not a half Orc in here. I thought there would be. Okay, well, maybe not. How about over here in the third-party stuff? Let's see. Here we go. Halves. That's pretty much everything we had before. No, this is literally everything we had before. Well, what's with the sidebar? It's just all templates. Nobody else did a half anything? Okay, never mind. Well, here's the thing about that, then. We don't need it. That would have been nice. We don't need it. It's a half orc and a half ogre. Let's think about that realistically here. Are either one of them incredibly dexterous? The answer to that is generally no. They are just direct bruisers. They're not nimble. They're just not dexterous. Are they smart? No. By any means of the word no, they are not smart. Are they wise? That one is actually a little bit harder to define because they do act more out of instinct than they do out of any kind of intelligence. And are they charismatic? No, literally everybody runs from them. Both of them, orcs and ogres alike. So, the only bonus I could even possibly think of giving them right now is going to be wisdom. It's about the best I can do for them. So we'll just copy and paste. And for the last one here, the weirds. So weirds are exactly what their name implies them to be. Weirds are red-blue creature types, a subspecies of elementals. Weirds were once a creature type unique to the Izzet League on Ravnica, but functioned as ubiquitous lab assistants and pets of the Izzet League members. The type was seen for the first time outside of Ravnica on the card Water Weird from the Alchemy Horizons in Baldur's Gate. But since we don't do the universe cards, it doesn't matter, because Baldur's Gate is out. They were originally created by Niv Mizzet, the Izzet League Perun and Guildmaster during the Ketazar Razblat Elemental Symposium. Who thought up these words? Unimpressed and bored by the quarreling factions of elementalists over whose media was the most adaptable, fire, water, earth, electricity, etc., Niv Mizzet took each opposing element and combined them into semi-sentient walking paradox pets. The Firemind subsequently ordered the weirds to burn, drown, smash, electrocute all the squabbling mages. See, that's what you do with a proper symposium. You commit mass murder. Okay, so again, when we look at the weirds, they are elementals, and we've done elementals already. Where were they? Here they are, elemental. And we gave them no bonuses. Simply because elemental is too broad. a fire elemental and an air elemental will have different bonuses, and so we skipped them entirely. Which means, since these are just a subset of elementals, we can follow that same line. Kinda. Sorta. So, because all of the weirds are explicitly red or blue, or red and blue, it does give us a little bit more of a finite direction. If we had to assign a stat to each one, strength would probably fall into the category of fire. Constitution would probably fall into the category of earth. Makes sense. Air and water, though. Well, both of them being fluid, would mean they would lend themselves to dexterity. What about the others? Is it possible for any element to be smart? I don't think so. The same thing goes for wise. What about charismatic, though? Now, charismatic, you would not immediately think it, because how can an elemental be charismatic? But let's think about this. Fire. Do people generally run to or away from fire? Hard to answer, but generally speaking, when we think fire, we think like wildfire, forest fire, house fire, any kind of fire like that, and people usually run away from it. So maybe not. What about air? Well, most people don't even really think about the air, it's just kind of there. So maybe not. What about water? Well, sure, you have your examples of like tsunamis and tidal waves and things like that that people run away from, but in general, where do people spend their free time? The beach. The pool. We like water. So, if we were going to give air dexterity and water charisma, our creatures over here, these weirds with fire, or that are made out of fire and water, would get a bonus to strength and charisma. Seeing as how we can't touch strength because that's determined by the card, that just leaves the one left, which means that for weirds, they're going to get a +2 charisma. Weird as it seems, pun intended, it makes sense. Alright, and that finishes up those. Now we can move into the animals. And the animals, of course, are already done. Everything from antelope down to worms. They're done. And so we can move into the fantastic animals then. Now, much like the animals needed to obey just simple rules, the fantastic animals don't. And so we're allowed to get very creative here. And JP says, to or from fire depends on if you have firefighting training. Okay, that's the exception though, not the rule. We could also say that, people do love campfires. People love fireplaces. People do actually run to fire when they're looking to get warm, or they're looking for something to watch or gather around. There are instances where people run to fire. However, in general, most of us, when we encounter fire in our daily lives, we'd be more inclined to run away from it. Water is the exact opposite. Generally speaking, in our daily lives, if we see water, it's in a pool, or a fountain, or something like that. Which we go right up to it and we say, ooh, look at that. So yeah, water, absolutely charisma. But okay, we're getting into animals now, which means I need to back up from here and do some scrolling. Because there's all the animals, and we're skipping those. We're coming down here to the fantastical. So the Atog. We already did the Atog before, and I'm inclined to leave it the way it is. So that's fine. Basilisk. What kind of basilisk? Oh yeah, the ugly kind. That thing looks weird. The basilisk is a creature type descending of many giant many-legged reptiles that can turn their enemies to stone with a single gaze. They mainly appear in green, but I'm sure there's others. Yeah, here we go. There's 13 of these basilisks, and there's some that are both red and green. They usually have some variant of whatever deals damage to creature, destroy that creature at the end of combat. Alright, so let's think about it then. Basilisk. What are we going to do with it? I do have basilisks in here. They'd be under B. So that's animals. Here we go. Baba Yaga's rider basilisks? No, not that. Ah, here we go. Common basilisk. That's what I wanted. So let's take a look. This squat reptilian monster has 8 legs, bony spurs jutting for its back. Basically looks exactly like the picture that we found before. And looking at its stats, it's got high strength and con. That's fine. That's set by our cards. It has low dexterity, despite having 8 legs. It has no intelligence. And then it has a decently high wisdom. And basically no charisma, because why would this thing have charisma? Okay, so if I wanted to model it after the actual stats here, the only thing that it's got going for it is strength, con, and wisdom. And so perhaps that's what we do. We'll just give it a bonus to wisdom. It's got good instincts, but that's pretty much where it ends. It has instincts and literally nothing else. So we'll back up from here then. Next up is just a beast. Literally just a beast. And it says it is a catch-all creature type used for large, monstrous, animal-like creatures. There's not much that I can really do with that. It says it's on 511 cards. This is one of those things that is just... It's right there with the elementals. How do you define this? How do you give them a bonus? This is one of those where I think they deserve to have no bonus because... what else am I supposed to do with it? Either that, or we treat it like an animal. Which might be the way to go, actually. It is used for large, monstrous, animal-like creatures. So they don't fall into the same category. However, they're just beasts who are not specific animals. This could work out very well for us. They're going to be dumb, but they're going to be at least kind of agile. They're going to be instinct-driven. This works. And, you know what I think about it? I mean, that would work for the basilisk, too, because basilisks are dumb. We would be rewarding its dexterity, but again, these are echoes, so they don't have to be the exact animal. Yeah, I'll go ahead and give it that too. We're gonna override that. Because that works for the basilisk. It may in fact work for a lot of these. Because, like, we have the dragons down here, and we were able to just copy and paste from over in the other table. But a lot of these are still just animals. Some of them are going to be kind of smart. Some of them will not be smart. And, like, for example, down here, there's mutant. Well, we just did mutants. So we can just bring that back up there. Alright. So next one is going to be the brushwag. And the brushwag is a green creature type. Was first used in, that first used in Black Border for the card Brushwag and Mirage. And I mean, what is it? It is an animal of varying size, which looks like a heap of animated kindling. Its body is covered in twigs, which make a characteristic noise when it moves. I mean, it's weird, but quite honestly, it's just an animal. I think we can use this again. Yes, it is covered in sticks. That doesn't make it not an animal. Alright, the Camerid. It is a seldom used token-specific creature type. Let's see. Description. After mating, the Homerid females lay their eggs in large spawning beds. Each egg later hatches into an infant, called a Camerid, which vaguely resembles a many-legged crab with 2 spikes in place of pincers. It has 2 long antennae, long fleshy tail, ending in a pair of flippers. Upon maturing, it grows or metamorphoses into an adult Homerid. And do we have those? I don't see it in the H's. What if I scroll down? Artifact creatures? No. Oh, wait, we did it over here. Never mind. Here's the Homerid. So we did that already. The Homerid just gets a +2 dexterity. The Camerid then, and stick with me here. The Camerid is essentially going to be an offspring. Sorta, kinda. It says it's only a token-specific creature. And here it is. Yeah. So the Camerid, it's blue, it's a Camerid, it's always going to be 1/1. And it comes from either the Homerid Spawning Bed or the Sarpadian Empires Volume 7. Whatever that is. So then here's the deal. It's not created directly from another creature, so we can't use the cloning stuff. That's just not going to work. It does need its own stats, but the stats need to be, like, kind of small, I guess? Because it is offspring still. So it's going to be a 1/1 creature. It's always going to have 11 strength and 11 constitution. I can't change that. They are offspring, so they're going to be small. Actually, hold on. I'm thinking about this. It's an offspring. It's going to be very dexterous because it's very small. It's going to be operating purely on instinct because it's wisdom. Is it smart? No. It's an animal. It's literally just hatched. It's going to be dumb. You know what that means? We can use the same stats here too. It's really simple. And PC Unicorn is in the chat. Hello, PC Unicorn. Good morning to you too. Okay, next up is the Cockatrice. And that's an animal that actually has some real history. So it's a green creature type that was only used once. It's in fact only on 3 cards. For the card Cockatrice in Alpha, they are flying creatures that can turn their enemies to stone, much like a basilisk. They have lithe, feathery, serpentine bodies. They have a bird, 2 legs, 2 wings, and they're about the size of a large horse. Yes, you can ride one if you can tame it. Good luck. Let's see. In 2014, it returned as a black creature, the Death Gaze Cockatrice. And then they later added the Fleet Feather Cockatrice. So there we go. As for what are we going to give it, let's take a look at what the actual Cockatrice would look like, because it absolutely exists. CLCO. There it is. And the Cockatrice, let's see. Low strength, high dexterity. decent constitution, low intelligence, higher wisdom. So it's got good wisdom, it's got good dexterity, good wisdom, low intelligence. You know what that means? We're using the same stats again. It's just an animal. Okay. Well, dragons are done. We got that. Drakes then. So drakes are essentially just big lizards. And I can come up here and get them from here, I believe. Let's see. Dragons. D-R-A-G. Drake will come after dragons. Here we go. Drakes. And when it comes to drakes, it really doesn't say that much about them. There's not really just a standard common drake. I guess the best I'm going to get is like a river drake. Okay, so it says, with graceful wings and wide fins, the sleek dragon looks equally well equipped to glide through the sea or the sky. They're classified as dragons? Huh. I would not have guessed that. It says, preying upon fish and fishermen with equal ease, river drakes are scourges of the freshwater expanses. They are thought to be related to black dragons, as evidenced by their acidic spit, water affinity, viciousness, and preference for rotten meat. Like other drakes, river drakes are cruel hunters, using a play and prey hunting style. When not hungry, they amuse themselves by stalking and harnessing other creatures or harassing other creatures and travelers. An offering of treasure thrown into the water can distract a river drake, but such a bribe is unlikely to stave off a particularly hungry individual. They will often slay more than they can immediately eat because they favor aged meat, keeping underwater larders stuffed with kills in various stages of decay. So yeah. I guess drakes are just like minor dragons then. As such, though, when I look at their stats, high strength, decently high dexterity, high constitution, intelligence of 8, not quite normal human, however, they can speak. Wisdom of 10, charisma of 9, they're not making any friends. So they're definitely more instinct-based than intelligence-based, although that's not saying much of either one. So looking at this, none of their soft stats are particularly great. It's just their dexterity. And so I think that's exactly what I'm going to reward them with. It's going to be a +2 dexterity. And that'll do it for that. Next up is a gargoyle. So, gargoyle, creature type used for cards that depict fearsome guardian figures, shaped like winged humanoid or animal, incorporated into architecture of a building in the form of a water spout. Is that really a definition? Do they have to be a water spout in order to be a gargoyle? I thought they just had to be a figure. Let's see, those who do not channel water are known as grotesques. I think we all just learned something today. Sentient gargoyles can move from the architectural base and fly, despite their dense mineral nature. They mainly appear in white as artifact creatures. Gargoyles are almost always have flying, and sometimes defender, and some ability reflecting its awakening. Okay, and much like the Drake, we have gargoyles in Pathfinder, so let's compare. And there you go, right at the beginning. Gargoyles. Seemingly carved from dark gray stone, this sinister crouched humanoid resembles a horned winged demon. I mean, it's not exactly the biggest thing, it's a CR4 creature. However, very important on this one, they have a damage reduction of 10, only penetrable by magic. But I'm not really here for that. I want to look at their statistics. So, decently high strength, decently high constitution, decently high dexterity. Their intelligence is lower, their wisdom is moderate, and their charisma is low. Which again, makes me think that the exact same thing we saw last time. The soft stats are all mediocre at best. The hard stats are higher. Since the strength and constitution is determined by the card, that just leaves dexterity. We'll give it a dexterity bonus. That's simple. Okay then. Not going to waste too much time there. The next one is a griffin. And who doesn't like griffins? Griffins are awesome. There's 53 of them. So they are a mainly white creature used for cards to depict a fabled race of semi-intelligent beasts that resemble a cross between a bird of prey, typically an eagle, and a large cat, typically a lion. Mechanically, it is one of the medium-sized common white flying races with power and toughness, usually somewhere between 2-2 and 3-4. So, I mean, we can work with that. And we've got griffin stats, I'm sure. PC Unicorn says, if the gargoyle is green, it is super smart. I feel like there's a joke in there I'm not getting. And I think I know why I'm not getting it. Is it from the cartoon? Because I didn't watch the cartoon. But I know that it exists. Okay, so Griffin. Gremlin. Grim Reaper. There we go, Griffin, right there. Alright, here we go. Griffins. Again, they're not exactly a huge creature. And PC Owner says, yes, it's the cartoon Lex. I still don't know what that means. I'm sorry, like I said, I didn't watch it. I mean, I have heard of Lex. Except that Lex has 2 X's, and that was definitely not a cartoon. And that was definitely not for kids. So, yeah, I'm completely lost here. And JP says, heading out. Have a good day. You too, JP. Thanks for coming by. And we'll see you next time. Alright, so getting back to the Griffin. The Griffins have decent strength and constitution. Of course, as set by the card. They have good dexterity. They fly. They have an intelligence of 5, which is still bestial, but higher than normal. They understand when you're talking to them. They have a high wisdom, low charisma, which I don't believe because, like, if you saw a griffin, would you not want to pet it? But okay, I mean, do you see what I'm seeing here? High dex, high whiz, low int. It's an animal. And so it's not that bad. We can actually we can be a little bit kinder to the griffin. Just like we did before with whatever it was, I forget now. We're going to say set int to 5 plus 2 dexterity and plus 2 wisdom. And there we go. So that accurately reflects what we're doing here. Next will be the Hellion. Let's take a look. Oh! That is not what I expected. That is ugly. That is very ugly. Okay, Hellions are a mainly red creature type used for cards that depict enormous worm-like creatures with scaly snake-like bodies, spiky knobs along their sides, and a ring of tentacles surrounding a toothy maw. The danger of which is usually superseded by the fact that Hellion maws are often glowing. That just makes it worse. Hellions are unique to magic in this depiction, with the closest real-life inspiration being supersized Dobson fly larvae, also known as Hellgramites, given a mouth like a lamprey, eel, or a leech. Yay! So there is nothing that I have that can even begin to compare to this thing. I'm going to just assume that it's not smart. I'm going to go ahead and assume that it is not terribly dexterous. I mean, if it's based on like a worm or a snake, well, snakes are actually kind of dexterous. They're not generally quick, but they can do a lot of things that you wouldn't think they could do. Is it intelligent? Absolutely not. Is it wise? It's entirely going to be instinct-driven. Is it charismatic? Hell no! The best I can do for this thing is to give it just the same animal stats as everything else. This is really all I can do for it. Alright, well, let's leave this horrifying thing behind. It's got animal stats. Good enough. Okay, hippogriffs. Alright, hippogriffs are a mainly white creature type used for cards that depict flying creatures that resemble griffins, but have the body and hind parts of a horse instead of a cat. The front parts still resemble a bird. An example is the razor hippogriff from Scars of Mirrodin. Okay, now these I think I do actually have stats for. And I'm curious as to whether they're going to have very similar stats as the griffin. Alright, here we go. Hippogriff. Well, for starters, it's 2 challenge ratings down below a griffin. It's still a magical beast, though. But if we look at the stats, high strength, high dex, high con, low intelligence, high wisdom, low charisma. The griffin had an intelligence of 5. The hippogriff literally has an intelligence of 2. Which means we're going to do the same thing here. And we're just going to give it the standard animal stats. Okay, that's perfect. That's exactly what we needed. That's going to make that one easy. Which is good because the next one will not be easy. The next one is a Hydra. The Hydra is a mainly green creature type used for cards that depict serpents with many heads, each of which, if cut off, grows back. Hydra heads are mechanically represented by +1/+1 counters and are known for frequently combining with damage prevention effects to simulate chopping off the head from damage. The Hydra is the iconic creature for the color green. Really? Does every color have an iconic creature? Well, I guess it kinda would, wouldn't it? I mean, the iconic creature for white would probably be angels. The iconic creature for red would probably be a dragon. I wonder what the iconic creature for blue would be. You know, this is a link. I could follow it. Characteristic and iconic races? Characteristic creature type. So for white, it's humans. For blue, it's merfolk. For black, it's vampires and zombies. Red is goblin. Green is elves. I knew that. Here we go. Iconic creature type. White is angel. I got that right. Red is dragon. I got that right. Blue is sphinx. You know, my primary colors are red and blue, and I don't think I own a single sphinx. Black is demon. That makes sense. And green is Hydra. You know, actually, this could be useful. This could be a useful piece of information. And Peace Unicorn says red, I'd say goblin. Well, see, that's up here. They have a distinction between characteristic creature type and iconic creature type. The iconic creature type is going to be like the paragon of that color. Hence why angels, sphinxes, demons, dragons, and hydras. The characteristic, though, humans, merfolk, vampires, goblins, and elves. So you're not wrong. This could be very useful, though. We're going to save this. We're going to save this. I'm just going to duplicate this tab. There we go. That way I have this because, and here's the reason why we're saving this. I'll explain this now. If every single one of these creature types is characteristic of a certain elemental color, let's not ignore what we did back here when we looked at our mana system. We have already made a mana system here where we have a certain amount of mana per tile. So whatever that tile happens to be, if it's an ocean, it is primarily going to be blue mana. If it's mountains, it'll be primarily red mana. If it's a desert, it's going to be primarily white. And the reason why we're doing this is we have to look at this in two ways. Number one, it's a desert. The desert is high in white mana. And we can also look at this in reverse. Do we say that the desert is high in white mana because it is a desert? Or because we know how the ley lines in Magic the Gathering work, how the ley lines flow from the source through a plane, and they give that plane form, function, and life. Did the desert create the white mana, or is the white mana in concentration creating the desert? That's a distinction that we have to make here. And somebody new in the chat, Bells. Hello, Bells. Good to see you here. I don't think I've ever seen you before. It's always good to have new people, though. So anyway, white mana in concentration creates desert. Blue mana in concentration creates ocean. Who's to say the same thing could not be true of the actual people that live there? If you have a ton of red mana, you might also have predominantly goblins living there. Now, is that because is there more red mana there because of the goblins there, or are the goblins there because that's where the red mana is? It's a bit of a chicken and the egg kind of thing, and there is no real satisfactory answer to it. The only thing that really matters is that if you have a mountain, you have red mana. If you have red mana, you have goblins. And when you put all three of those together, you end up with the ability to create a map where you say, do you have a mountain? Well, then whenever you're rolling up a civilization for that area, it's going to be primarily goblin. The same thing is true for elves. Forests, green mana, elves. They all go together. Which one is responsible for the other? Who knows? But they all go together regardless. And so this will allow us to not just, well, it'll allow me anyway, because I'm the one that's going to be making the games. It will allow me to go through and align everything with where it has to go. Vampires, are they really common? Generally not. But in the world of Magic the Gathering, maybe they could be. And so if I roll a swamp somewhere, because it's like the only place where you really find a lot of black mana, so bogs, marshes, swamps, things like that. If I have a bog, and I have to roll up a civilization there, I mean, I roll the dice, I put things in, and it turns out I have this area of swamp, and there is now a civilization there. I don't necessarily have to even guess and say who's going to be the primary creature type. It's going to be vampires. It's going to be undead in general. This is going to be a really, really important thing going forward. It's going to be more important than I think anyone realizes. Okay. But that's not what we want to do right now. We're still working on getting the creatures done. Okay, so we got to get back to the Hydra. Now, Hydras are absolutely a thing here. In fact, there's multiple different kinds of Hydras, mostly just dependent on how many heads they have. However, your typical Hydra here, it's a CR4, no big deal. And what I need to do is I need to give it some stats. So looking at this thing, Hydras are generally not an intelligent creature. They never have been. And it shows in the intelligence. They have an intelligence of 2. They have a bonus to their dexterity, a small bonus to their wisdom because they are driven by instinct. But otherwise, they're very strong, very tough. That's about it. But what I see here is higher dex, higher wisdom, garbage intelligence. These things are no different than the rest of our animals, and I think we can treat them as such. And so there we go. We got our Hydras done. And by the way, Bells, if you're curious about what we're doing here, we are converting the Magic the Gathering card game into a tabletop playable version of Pathfinder. The reason why we're doing this is because every single one of these cards, any card that you draw from Magic the Gathering, if it's a creature, we will be turning it into an actual character sheet, a little mini sheet for you to use, which I've shown here. Take, for example, this Goliath spider. We can take its stats and the fact that it is a spider, and we can make it out of the stats that we're generating here. Because it's a spider, because it is a 7/6 spider, we can generate it with a 17 in strength and a 16 in constitution, and because it is an animal, it's a bug, it's going to get it's setting its intelligence to 2, which we've done. It gets a bonus to its dexterity and wisdom, so it makes it a 12. And, didn't get that one updated. A 12, it has no charisma. And because of that, we can generate an entire creature here, so that when you're playing as a planeswalker, and when you summon this giant spider, we have everything we need to actually play it. So that's what we're doing. Alright, next is going to be a Kavu. I'm not actually sure what a Kavu is, so we're going to learn this one together. Kavu are mainly red and green creature types used for cards that depict carnivorous mutant reptiles with long, low heads, square jaws, and 4 to 6 legs. They were introduced in the invasion block. Okay, is there anything to stop me from just making this like any other animal? Just giving it the set into 2 plus dex and plus wisdom. I don't think so. It doesn't look particularly smart. And in fact, I'm going to just assume that it's not. And I don't think it's particularly wise either. Charismatic? No, you would run from this. Everybody would run from this. I mean, its own mother would run from this. So, yeah, I'm thinking that these are just going to be typical animals. And that's about all I can do with them. And honestly, that's good enough for me. Now, the same cannot be said for the Kraken. So, here we go. This one's going to get a little complicated. So, we can look here at the Kraken. We're absolutely going to go and check Pathfinder, though, because it's in the bestiary. So the Kraken are massive fiends from the deepest reaches of the ocean. They have various features that take different forms of oceanic classes, most commonly the tentacles of a cephalopodic octopus or squid. Some others feature dorsal spines, binocular vision, mandibles of fish, and even some of them have the pincers of crustaceans. The only true unifying features of their species are the massive size and destructive capability, with the art direction, not depiction, being the entire being. It is unlikely there will ever be a clear taxonomic definition. They are not to be confused with leviathans. Oh god, do I have to do leviathans too? Ah, it's next. Okay, Krakens then. So the weird thing about Krakens is that it's a giant octopus. And that means that on 2 notes, they're not necessarily dumb. Let's see. K, K-I, K-R, Kraken. Here we go. So this tremendous Leviathan. No. Leviathans are different. We'll get to that. Resembles a vast squid, yet has the mark of his body strangely unsettling to look upon. Okay. Here's the problem. And I need you to look at this. Number 1, this is a CR18 creature. Do you know what that means? That means that this is a suitable challenge for a party of 4 level 18 players. Krakens are not to be messed with. But we need to look at these stats. Number 1, strength and constitution set by the card. Don't need to worry about it. Although these things have enormous strength and constitution. Dexterity, 10. Believe it or not, that is primarily because of their size. The fact is that they are very dexterous. They're also very large targets. Next up, though, oh my god, we have to look at the soft stats because intelligence of 21, wisdom of 20, and charisma of 21. Krakens are not dumb animals. These things are smart. These things are smarter than you. These things are smarter than 99% of all living things on the planet. Which is one of the things that makes them so very dangerous. As if it being a giant octopus wasn't enough, these things can strategize, they know tactics, they know patience. Krakens are bad news. And so when we're making these things, it has absolutely garbage dexterity, and so we may not give it that. However, that is a significant bonus to all of its soft stats, and so that's what we may do. What I think that we're gonna do here is... I'm a little curious. Do they have an example of the, of a Kraken? And there's 29 of these things, so just... Can you show me one? The first card was the Polar Kraken. And all of them except for one are blue. What happens if I click this? Ah, here we go. Cool! That's a cool button. Here's all the Krakens. Let's look. Here we go. The Eryxmenthes Slumbering Isle. It is a 12/12 Kraken, and that's probably going to be the best one that we find. I mean, you probably can't summon it, but it's probably going to be the best one that we find. It is a 12/12, which means that when we're doing this, we're going to add 10 to each of that, which would give it a strength and constitution of 22 and 22. A little bit lower than what we just saw with the actual Kraken and Pathfinder, but still up there. A lot of these other ones are going to be, let's see, that's going to be 14-15, 16-18, 16-16. Kind of weak in comparison, but the fact is that you can also summon more than one of them, so it balances out. What I'm thinking here is that the actual Kraken has strength and constitution around 30. We're looking at them having strength and constitution around 20. And so, what I'm thinking is that we're never going to get their soft stats up to level 20. But we could get them up to maybe halfway. So here's the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go with +4 intelligence, +4 wisdom, and a +4 charisma. There we go. So that should accurately represent the actual Kraken. Whatever you choose, whichever one of these you want to use in your spell book. If we pick, say, the Deep Sea Kraken here, who is a 6/6, that would make it 16 Strength, 10 Dexterity, which is on point, 16 Constitution, which is, again, good, and then 14 Intelligence, 14 Wisdom, 14 Charisma. That is pretty good stats across the board. Overpowered? No, not really. It'll have a good will save, it'll have more skills to play with. I think this is going to work out pretty well. Okay then, so that's good. Now we get to move on to the Leviathan. And do I even have stats for that? Is that in here? Leviathan's going to be LE, LEP, LEV, Leshy. No, Leviathans are not a thing in here. Okay, that's fine. So we're doing this one just wholesale. Okay, so Leviathans are immense whale-like creatures that aren't necessarily found in the water. Most Leviathans feature extraordinarily large mouths that could seemingly swallow the sea or the sky. They are not to be confused with Krakens. The distinction between the two is rather vague. In general, though, Leviathans tend to resemble mammals or reptiles, while Krakens often combine aspects of mollusks, crustaceans, and fish. I thought they were going to be like giant sharks. But, you know, whale's good too. The first card to bear the creature type was the Leviathan in the dark through the... Leviathan in the dark. Though the Segovian Leviathan from Legends was later issued errata to become a Leviathan as well. They are mainly blue. No kidding. Okay, so Leviathans. I don't have a reason to make these things intelligent. I don't see a reason to, anyway. I don't see any evidence. Let's see, on Dominaria, the Empress Lawan led her own personal Leviathan into battle. Nicol Bolas fought against a demonic Leviathan in the first duel between Planeswalkers on the still young plane of Dominaria. But that doesn't necessarily make them smart. Let's see, the Leviathans found on Mirrodin were likely transported there via the soul traps. Like all life on that plane, they have metallic features. Memnarch used them together with his levelers against the organic civilizations. Again, they're just beasts. It says in the Avishkar and Kaladesh plane, they're similar to whales, although they also swallow drakes, skyships, and other similar objects. Yeah, they're not smart. I'm probably going to cheat here. I think I'm going to give them just animal stats. The fact is that we don't really... do we have a whale? We actually do have whales. And the Leviathans are basically just really, really big whales. That'll be indicated by their power and toughness, because let's press this button again. We'll look at Leviathans. When we look at the Leviathans, we've got the Aether Squall Ancient, which is a 6/6, the Archipelagore, which is a 7/7, the Breaching Leviathans in 9/9, the Cherix, the Raging Isle, is a 0/17. Holy crap. But let's not forget something. Let's not forget. The size of the creature, which for Leviathan is very important, is determined by its power and toughness combined. So, when we look at these, a 6/6 Leviathan is going to be 12. 12 is going to make it large. That's a very small Leviathan. Okay. The 7/7 is a 14. That pushes it up into the huge category. So now it's occupying 9 squares. The 9/9 Breaching Leviathan, that's 18. That pushes it all the way up into the Gargantuan. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 16 squares. Now we're getting somewhere. The 0/17 is also going to be Gargantuan based on the 17 alone. The 9/8, that's 17. That's also Gargantuan. The Gorzoth is 18. This one is also 18. Here we go. The Joklu Mordor is a 12/12. That puts it into the colossal territory. So if medium is 1 square, 4, 9, 16, 25 squares. It's a 5/5 creature. That's pretty enormous. Some of these will live up to their name. Some of these will not. What you can do with it is basically just up to you. If you can figure out a way to make them bigger, great. And if not, well, then you have a tiny Leviathan. I'm sorry. But that's going to do it for the Leviathan. Let's move on to whatever the hell this thing is. The Lurgoyf. I have no idea what that is. Let's see. It is an all-color creature type used for cards that depict large reptilian creatures with distinctive elongated limbs and large toothed mouths. The Lurgoyf are primarily scavengers. They come in a wide variety of shapes depending on their scavenge sustenance of choice. It's only on 16 of the cards. They do come in all colors, although they do look heaviest in green and black, with red following up. Again, though, they do seem to be just wild beasts that don't really fit any other category. I'm going to go ahead and give them standard animal stats. And enough said about that. Next is going to be the Lycid. The Lycid is a creature type that has only appeared in the Tempest block. There's only 12 of them to speak of. So, Lycids are parasitic or symbiotic beings of a slug-like or insectoid nature with 6, generally, limbs and a tail. Found on the plane of Wrath, they all have the ability to become aura enhancements, targeting other creatures representing melding with a host. Okay, well here's the thing. I don't need to account for that because it's already accounted for on the card. All I need to do is care about the actual creature when it's not an aura enhancement. And as such, what is it? It is a slug-like creature with multiple appendages looking for some kind of host to feed on. It's a creature. It's an animal. There's nothing much more to it. The only thing that I could be a little bit more accurate on is if it's really slug-like, it's not going to be very dexterous, but it says somewhere insectoid. And so I really can't take that away. It says here, they are the definition of an interdependent life form. They live most of their lives as solitary creatures, preying upon rodents and insects. The species is very unfriendly to its own kind, and certain breeds are blood enemies. It is believed that Lycids are asexual egg layers that leave their young to fend for themselves. They can bond with a host, usually a human, and then imbue that creature with some ability. When attached, the legs sink into the body of the host, and the two creatures gradually merge together at the point of contact. When the Lycid leaves the host, it disengages itself without physical harm to either organism. How the Lycid benefits from this union is unknown, though it must be important to the creature's life cycle. Okay, so again, it's going to have lots of really interesting abilities, and that's great. but we're just looking at statistics right now. And the stats say it's just a bug. So it's going to get normal animal stats. And I think we have an insect up here, don't we? Yeah, we have insect. So that follows. That tracks. Okay, next is a manticore. Now that is one that I know that we have a reference to. So it says here that a manticore is a creature type depicting a sentient, ill-tempered monster with lion-like bodies, wings jutting out from the shoulders, and a scorpion's tail with a human face and a mouth filled with multiple rows of razor-sharp teeth. Because that's fun. The Crimson Manticore and Flailing Manticore marked manticores as red creatures, but little else mechanically links the 11 manticores, 13 now, of Magic the Gathering to the winged but Amonkhet. Or no, wait, hold on. Links the 11 manticores of Magic. Most were winged, but the Amonkhet had just as many that were ground-bound, and several had damage-dealing abilities or some interpretation of the sort. Okay, either way. Let's take a look at manticores. So we'll come down to M's. Let's see, M-A-G, M-A-N, M-A-N, Manticore, here we go. It's a CR5, so that's decently strong. And the stats look like this. It has high strength and high constitution, don't care really though. High dexterity, like really good. It has actually, believe it or don't, really decent intelligence. These things are not dumb for an animal. I mean, they're not doing math, but they understand when you're talking to them, and they have the ability to basically hunt you. So, what are we going to do with it? It's not getting a bonus for its intelligence, but it doesn't necessarily need a penalty for it either. The charisma is not great. It's got good dex, though, and good wisdom. So, I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to give it a benefit to those. +2 dexterity, and a +2 to wisdom, but we are not penalizing its intelligence. It's going to keep its intelligence. Next is going to be the Pegasus. So the Pegasus is a primarily white creature used for cards that depict a winged horse. It's a Pegasus. We know what the Pegasus is. The original Greek Pegasus was the child of Poseidon, and role was as horse god, and the Gorgon... Oh, in his role as the horse god and the Gorgon Medusa. He was born of Medusa's blood after she was beheaded by Perseus. According to legend, everywhere the winged horse struck its hoof to the earth, an inspiring spring burst forth. It carried Bellerophon in his attack on the Chimera, which we just covered. Alright, we can look at the Pegasus here, though. So we're going to come down to P, PH, no, up from there, Pegasus, here we go. A magnificent horse that had great bird-like wings on its back, moves with a quiet and proud grace. It's a CR3, not that you'd want to kill it, because killing a Pegasus, I'm pretty sure, just sends you straight to hell. Importantly, statistics. It has 18 in strength, that's high. Constitution is high as well. Dexterity is high because it has to fly. It has 10 intelligence. It has high wisdom and high charisma because everybody likes the Pegasus. This thing has almost no gaps. It has a 10 of intelligence, although it is strictly stated that it cannot speak. Probably because it's a horse. However, if it did have a human head, it could talk. And, you know, it can communicate in other ways, I'm sure. So for the Pegasus, it's going to get a bonus to kind of everything. It's going to get a +2 dexterity. It's going to get a +2 to its wisdom and a +2 to its charisma. Nothing for the intelligence. It's not getting a penalty, but it's getting a bonus to everything else. And PC Unicorn says it gets a special stat. Awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes they deserve it. And the Pegasus? It deserves it. Alright, so let's move on. After Pegasus, we have Pest. Specifically on Arcavios. Alright, what is this? It is a creature type used for cards that depict small, annoying, destructive creatures, mostly used on tokens. There's only 3 of them. And let's see. It says here, under the history, pests were introduced as artifact creatures on Mirrodin, the token generator nuisance engine. Even amongst the archaic workings of Mirrodin's machines, the engine's only discernible purpose was frustration. I find that incredibly funny. The return to Mirrodin also meant the return of the subtype with the card Signal Pest in Mirrodin Besieged. And on Arcavios, pests were reintroduced as non-artifact creatures. Let's see, at Strixhaven, the Witherbloom students use pests as mascots. So they're called pests. If we were going to compare this to Pathfinder, they would essentially be vermin. Different names, but the same basic idea. As such, there's really nothing special about vermin. Vermin do not have any kind of intelligence going for them. If we come back to the bestiary, they are their own creature type. If I scroll down... I went too far. Here we go, vermin. Okay, so this includes insects, arachnids, arthropods, worms, other similar invertebrates. I don't know if pests are invertebrates or not, but I think they fall into the same category. They have a D8 hit die, base attack bonus equal to 3/4, so medium progression, good fortitude. They do have some skill points. They possess the following traits. No intelligence score. They are mindless. And immunity to all mind-affecting effects such as charms, compulsions, etc. They have dark vision, proficient with natural weapons only. They don't wear armor. They do breathe, eat, and sleep. They are just vermin. They're rats and things. So, that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm not giving it necessarily a 0 when it comes to intelligence, because I don't necessarily have to. Because I can just use the regular animal stats for these, and it should do what we want. After all, you get a number, or your creatures will get a number of skills equal to their intelligence bonus. Well, -2, what? At 10, they have no skills. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. And if you have no skills at 10, if you go down from 10, you still have 0 skills. You can't have negative skills. And so, this works. That will handle the pest for us. So what's next? This thing, whatever this is. The Feldagriff. This is a winged hippo. This is only on 2 cards. Is this a real thing? I feel like this is from one of the unsets. Let's see. The first printed Feldagriff was in Alliances. The second one was questing Feldagriff from Planeshift. Both are very similar to the others, being 4/4 creatures with 3 activated abilities. It doesn't say that this is from the unsets. Like, alliances and plane shift are both legitimate additions. I cannot find a reason to say no to this thing. Okay, I guess flying hippos are a thing. I did not know this, and I was not prepared for this. Alright, so what are we doing with it then? Well, it's a hippo. Do we already have hippos in here? I think we do. Do we? Actually, no, we don't. No, wait, yes we do. There it is, hippo. So, hippos are just an animal. Just because they have wings doesn't make it any smarter or anything like that. It's just going to be an animal. And PC Unicorn says, silly cards do exist in other series. Or other sets. Okay, I mean, color me surprised. Roughly the same color as a pink hippo, I guess. Or I guess it's purple, really. Purple hippos. Okay, it's just getting animal stats. That's all it can do. I was unprepared for that. Okay, next. Something that is definitely not silly. The Phoenix. The Phoenix is a mythical firebird which can be reborn out of its own ashes. Cards bearing this creature type in Magic the Gathering have the same ability in early cases. After a Phoenix has been sent to the graveyard from the battlefield, it can be sent to its hand or back to the battlefield either for free or by paying a mana cost. And PC Unicorn says, look up Foul Strike. I feel like I don't want to, but I'm going to. Foul Strike. There it is. Okay, so there's the card. Specifically, where is it from? The expansion is from Modern Horizons 3, which is a very, very legitimate addition. Okay, what is it and what do it do? Foul Strike. Destroy target creature with flying. It has Reinforce. With a resounding wallop, the ancient battle between Buzzard and Druid was finally finished. Oh my god, now I see it. That's the Buzzard getting its eyes knocked out. I didn't realize what I was reading or what I was looking at first. Okay, well, I knew they didn't take themselves seriously all the time. I knew that there was some stuff, but that catches me off guard. I'm not as used to seeing it outside of the unsets. Okay, back to the other bird that's not getting beaten up. So, Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is something that I do have in Pathfinder. It's going to be under P. Here we go. We already here for Pegasus, but that's fine. Phoenix, PH, PHE. Here we go. No, PHO. Okay, Phoenix, here we go. CR 15. In other words, you don't want to fight this thing. It's a bird. It's a firebird. It will come back to life. As a matter of fact, here we go. Self-resurrection. A slain phoenix remains dead for only 1d4 rounds unless his body is completely destroyed by an effect such as disintegrate. Otherwise, a fully healed phoenix emerges from the remains 1d4 rounds after death, as if brought back via resurrection. It does gain 1 permanent negative level, although most use greater restoration anyway to remove the negative level as soon as possible. They can only self-resurrect once per year, though. If it dies a second time, its death is permanent. So, I mean, they can be killed. But, let's take a look at this thing, because its stats are absolutely insane. High strength and con, extremely high dexterity at 25, extremely high intelligence at 23, Wisdom of 22 and Charisma of 22. This thing is basically the Kraken, except it has high everything. And I think that I need to give it stats that are going to reflect that. I want to see what Phoenix cards look like, though, because it says there's 39 of them. So let's click on this button. I want to see the stats. Here we go. 13, or the Akum Firebird is a Phoenix. It's a 3/3, so it's going to be 13/13. This one is a 3/2, a 4/1, a 5/3, a 2/2, a 3/3, 2/2, 2/2. These do not have exceptionally high stats. I mean, the Everquill Phoenix has a 4/4, 3/2, 4/2, 2/2, 3/3, 2/2. Yeah, these all have like really basic stats. So here's the reason why I'm looking at this. When I look at the Phoenix over here, it has a really high strength at 27 and a really high dex at 25, but the rest of these are really centered around the 20 mark. The point is consistency. They're all really along the same level. This thing doesn't have spikes in its ability scores. The entire plateau has gone up. And so, when I look at these, and I see a lot of 3s and 2s, here's what my instinct is to do. It is going to be just like over here with the dragons and such. It's going to be a +2 to all, except for the strength and constitution. And so that will take care of that. Phoenixes are just going to be better in general. Alright, next up is going to be a Serpent. Now that's going to be kind of an overly broad category, I think. The Serpent is a mainly blue creature type used for cards that depict the big, limbless reptiles with large heads. Unlike similar land-bound worms, these snake-like serpents live in the sea. Okay, so this is any large serpent. I don't know that I have stats for that in here. Do I? We're gonna check. Let's look in S and see what we have for serpent, if we have anything. So SCA, we have Serpent Folk. But that's not what we're looking for. Let's take a look at the terrain. So this is going to be aquatic, obviously. I don't know if we're going to find what we want here, but this may help us. So we've got dragons, of course, dragon ships, murgoyles, hippos, oozes, sea serpents. Here we go. So, we're going to look at, I think, the Shipbreaker Sea Serpent. Now, these are all third-party, so we got to be a little bit careful with them. Third-party stuff can be unbalanced. However, it is under dragons, it is under sea serpents, and so we're going to look. It is a CR... Well, okay, actually, that explains a lot. It's a CR25. That's why it's third-party, because nothing that Paizo does goes above level 20. But okay, let's look. What does this thing have? The strength is incredibly high, so is the constitution, but it is a colossal dragon. The dexterity is low, probably because it is colossal. The wisdom is decently high. The charisma is weirdly high. I'm not sure why. Intelligence being easily its lowest stat. And so I want to do a little bit like I did with the Phoenix, and I want to look at the cards and see, because looking at the Sea Serpent, if we ignore... Well, we can't really ignore it. Actually, everything here is like is really low in comparison to those two things. PC, of course, says that would be a CR rating of FU. Yeah, kinda. Although, let's be fair here. Okay, let's be fair. This is something that's been known about Dungeons & Dragons for a very long time. The Dungeons & Dragons books end at level 20. However, anybody who is even just remotely observant can see that when you're leveling up, there's a direct pattern to how you do so. And it's very simple. How much XP do you need to level up? This is not an arbitrary number. If you are level 1, you need 1000 XP to get to level 2. If you are level 2, you need 2000 XP to get to level 3. And so on and so forth. If you're level 15, you need 15,000 XP to get to level 16. And this is how it goes on and on and on. Meaning that it is nothing for you to continue a legendary game after level 20. The only problem is that after level 20, you have absolutely mastered your class. You are now the strongest whatever it is that you are in existence. And so where do you go from there? Well, here's where you begin speccing into other classes. If you are a fighter, and you are now a level 20 fighter, this is where you can say, well, you know what? I always wanted to learn magic. And so you decide that you're going to take the first level of Wizard. Okay, great. You're taking the first level of Wizard. And now you have access to some spells. Now, what are these spells going to be? They're going to be cantrips. They're going to be first level spells like Magic Missile or Shield. Are these going to be terribly handy when you're fighting like these level 20 or CR20 dragons and things? I mean, is Magic Missile going to help you against a Tarrasque? No, it's not. However, if you are really invested in your characters and you want to continue leveling them up, this is how you do. And so getting to level 25 is not impossible. Most players in the world have never done it. I mean, there's not that many players in the world that have ever gotten to level 20, but my point is, most people wouldn't bother to do it. They wouldn't keep it going that long. It takes a very dedicated group. So it necessarily is not going to be a CRFU if you are the right kind of party for it. Otherwise, though, you are absolutely right. This is the kind of thing that you drop into your game because you just want your players dead. Okay? Not asking questions, not taking excuses. You just want your players dead at this point. Game over. Have a better day tomorrow. Anyway, the stats down here are roughly either 10 to 20 below their strength and constitution. So that means that if I look at actual serpents here, we've got a 5-5, a 7-8, a 7-6, a 0-4. Well, that's an egg. Let's see, a 5-4, 5-5. These things are all, going to be 15, 16, things like that. I think that giving these just a +2 to their other stats is probably the best that I can do for them. And so far, this Denizen of the Deep is like the biggest one with an 11-11. That would put its stats at 21-21, and if we just give it +2s, having 12s in Dexterity, Wisdom, and Charisma, it's on point. So I think we can do that. And Peace Corner says, does that mean that I can genocide a group of boars until I'm max level? Well, in my games, technically you can. Okay, so for a serpent, here's what we're going to do. It's going to get a +2 dexterity. a +2 wisdom, and for reasons that are known only unto God, a +2 charisma. I don't know who actually wants to get to know a serpent, but there we go. Alright, so moving on to the next is a Slith. I feel like we already have these. Didn't we do these already? Sliths. Yes, we did. They're up here. These are one of the normal humanoid races. So this work is done for us. I knew it looked familiar. So there's a Slith. The same is true with a Sliver. We did Slivers last time. Slivers don't get any bonuses, because they are living bonuses. So there, we can skip over those two. They're done. Next is going to be a Spike. And how is a creature a Spike? A Spike is a creature type first found in the Tempest block. They were likely created or modified for their purpose in Volrath's operating theater in the Stronghold on Wrath. Okay, there's a whole 11 cards. Spikes are depicted with a slug-like body and 2 rows of pods down either side of the back, and a pair of pincers on its face. Most spikes are green 0/0 creatures. With this enters the battlefield with a number of counters. And then you can remove a counter to put a counter on another creature. The one exception, of course, is the Spike Cannibal. Spikes have served as the inspiration for the creation of other abilities in later sets, including Modular and Graft. Okay, right. So these things are literally just like bugs that serve to make other things better. And as such, I'm going to treat them as just animals. There's nothing that special about them except for their ability. Okay, that will get us to our next one. That's going to be the Unicorn. We all know what unicorns are. Alright, so this unicorn is white and green. I thought unicorns were purple. Okay, well, maybe it's just me. Unicorn is a white and green creature type used for cards that depict noble white horse-like creatures with large pointed spiraling horns. Okay, that's fair. Like I said, we know what a unicorn is. And because they're a creature of legend, I absolutely will have stats for these. Where is it? There it is. Unicorns. Okay. So unicorns can detect evil, they can cure light wounds, all this stuff. They can create a magic circle against evil. So, like, you shouldn't even really be able to harm one of these things. However, I mean, you can absolutely kill one. Unicorn's blood is powerful. What I want to look at here, though, is its stats. So, 18 strength, 17 dexterity, 16 constitution. It has an 11 in intelligence. And you know what? Down here it says languages are common and Sylvan, and it does not specify that they cannot talk. So unicorns can actually talk to people. Pegasus can't, but they can. They have exceptionally high wisdom and charisma. So here's what I think we're gonna do. I've done this before. Dexterity, wisdom, and charisma. We did it for the Pegasus. We're doing it for the unicorn. And so that should be good there. That'll be really easy. The next one is going to be the varmint. Now, varmints are essentially just vermin. I mean, basically the same word. There's only 2 cards with it. It's a cross between a reptile and a skunk. They have voracious appetites, eating anything they can fit in their mouth. They are considered a corollary for the Kaldeshi gremlins. Really? Is that the case? Because if that's the case, I can just copy and paste from the gremlins, because we did those already. Gremlins are right here, a +4 dexterity and a -2 charisma. I was going to give them vermin stats, or basically just animal stats, but nope. You convinced me. And the last one for the fantastic animals are going to be worms. So, worm is a creature type, describing a large, limbless terrestrial reptile with the name derived from the worm, describing mythical wingless dragons or serpents. These worms have an endoskeleton, reptilian scales or plates, their saurian heads similar to a dragon's. They may be aligned with any color of magic, but are wholly or partially green. Let's see, over the years and sets, worms have evolved into more gigantic reptilian worms, characterized with an eyeless face and jawless mouth. Most worms are forest dwellers. They are preternaturally hungry and relentless when pursuing their prey. I don't think that I really have something in here for that. So I do know that if this was Dungeons & Dragons, we would have the purple worm that we could reference. However, the purple worm, much like the Beholder, the Mimic, things like that, is very, very much trademarked and copyrighted and very restricted to Wizards of the Coast. So I know we don't have that. However, we do have some. Oh my god, do they actually have a purple worm in here? Did they try that? They did try that. How did they not get sued? I have no idea. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure we have mimics too. I'm gonna look at that. Do we have mimics? Mites. MIS, mimic. Yeah, we do have mimics too. Again, how'd they not get sued? I have no idea. Okay, purple worm then. It's going to be our best comparison. So it is a gargantuan worm covered in purple plates of chitinous armor, giant tooth-filled maws the size of an ox. So let's take a look at this thing. It has a strength of 35 and a constitution of 25. Again, those are set by the card. But look at the rest of its stats. No dexterity, no intelligence, no wisdom, and no charisma at all. This thing has no bonuses. Literally, no bonuses to give. It is terrible in everything except for hitting things really hard and then getting hit really... Oh my god, Goku's a worm. Anyway, okay, yeah, that's a worm. Okay, we're moving on. So I'm almost out of time, but maybe we can get some of this done. Plants. What am I supposed to do with plants? Well, let's take a look. So, fungi. I mean, we kind of looked at these before. The problem with this is that there are 68 cards with it, and if I click on the button to look at these, there's a lot of them, and they are obviously mobile fungus creature things. This Akwali, the Seething Tower, is a 3/3. This Blight Reaper Thallid. Well, it says it's a fungus, so I guess that's a 2/2. That one is conditional. This Brackish Trudge is a fungus. It's a 4/2. The problem here is that, like, it's a fungus and very similar to the worm. Like, what am I supposed to give it? It's not intelligent. It doesn't even have a brain. It doesn't have a brain. It's a fungus. So therefore, it cannot have soft stats. I'm curious. Creature types. Do I have a creature type for plants? Magical beast, outsider. Actually, I do. There is a plant. Okay. This type comprises vegetable creatures. Note that regular plants, such as the ones growing in gardens, lack intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores. Even though plants are alive, they are objects, not creatures. A plant creature has the following features. D8 hit dice, it has base attack bonus, it's medium, good fortitude save, it has skill points, low light vision. Okay, they have immunity to all mind effects. Immunity to paralysis, poison, polymorph, things like that. They're not proficient with armor. They do breathe and eat, but they do not sleep. So does that mean that these plants do have that? Hold on a second. I need to look. Let's look at plants here. I have no idea what to make of any of these, so let's just pick one at random, I guess? How about this cave light moss? Actually, now that I think about it, are there mushrooms in here? Because that would be a great thing. Ah, here we go. Funguses. We do actually have some. Fungus Queen, Fungus Cerebrick, Fungus Phantom, Fungus Sheet, Fungus Violet. Let's try the Fungus Violet. I like violet. This mushroom grows from a bed of tentacular roots. Deep violet tendrils slither out of the dozens of fissures in its pointed cap. Okay, so taking a look at this thing. Statistics. It has a strength score and a constitution score. It has a dexterity for some reason. It has 0 intelligence. Again, it doesn't have a brain. But it does have a wisdom and charisma. Not great, but it does have them. I gotta be honest with you, I don't think I'm giving these things a bonus. It's just a plant. The same thing I think is going to be true of the actual plant type. So if I look at the actual plants, well, whatever that is, that's cool. I'm gonna look at the cards because I want to see what that one is actually. Where is that cool looking card? Can I find it? Scrolling, scrolling. No, I cannot. Oh, wait, there's more of them. The next 60. Oh, there it is. Found it. It's a snapping creeper. It's a cool card. Anyway, though, we're just looking at plants here. So it's a creature type used for cards that depict organisms that produce their food from inorganic matter by the process of photosynthesis, and that have more or less rigid cell walls containing cellulose. This definition includes mosses, but excludes fungi. Sapient trees are classified as tree folk. And I think that's a really good thing right there. If it was an actual creature, it would be a tree folk. These are explicitly not. These are just mindless plants doing plant things. I'm going to do the same thing here and give no bonus. Just because they're plants, they don't need it. Okay, how about a saproling? It's a creature type that is primarily used for tokens that depict cultivated fungus and or plant-based green-aligned life forms. Though capable of reproducing by spontaneous generation, saprolings are usually created by thalids or tree folk. Saproling seems to be the generic term for small plant fungus creatures rather than specific species. Saproling means putrid thing or thing from rot, from the ancient Greek, however you read that, sapros, meaning rotten or putrefied, and ling, the Middle English denotation for diminutives. Okay, So there's just one card, if that's it. There's 86 Sapperling creation cards, but Sapperlings are just a token. It is a 1/1 token. Everything can make one, but there is only one to be made. As such, no bonus. It's just a little 1/1 thing. They're primarily used as blockers or just, you know, stuff. So no bonuses. Which leads us to the last one we're going to do today, which is going to be the Splinter. And I'm going to guess it's probably not going to get a bonus, but hey, we'll take a look. The Splinter is a unique creature subtype which only appears on tokens. So this is basically just like the Sapperling. It's created by Splintering Wind enchantment from alliances. So it is only a token. It is only created by one card in the entire over like 10,000 cards in Magic the Gathering. I'm not giving it any bonuses. That's it. None of the plants and fungi are getting bonuses. That's just how it's going to work. Okay, though. I am pretty much out of time, though, for today, so we still have a few more to go. The other biological creatures, we have germs and oozes. Oozes I'm kind of familiar with because those exist in Pathfinder. Germs, not so much. And then we get into artifact creatures. I suspect that artifact creatures are going to go really fast because artifact creatures are going to share a lot of the same stuff among them. But we'll go through and look at them each one at a time. And then, non-sapient creatures, eggs. It's an egg. It doesn't get a bonus. I don't know what the orbs are. I don't know why sand is a creature type. Walls, however, we'll have to look at because walls are very common. And while I don't think they should get bonuses, walls are going to be very unique. Because when we summon walls, there's going to have to be like some very special instructions for those. Because walls obviously can't move. We're going to need to determine like how... There's a lot we have to go through with walls. That's what I'm saying. So, and then we need to do classes. But there's a lot to get done, and we're not getting it done today. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to let you all get out of here. We made a lot of good progress today. We got all the animals done. All of the animals are done now. The common ones, the fantastic ones, it's good. So, with that being said, if you want to see more of this, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon. That way you get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who is also into either Pathfinder or Magic the Gathering, then share this video with them because they're probably going to enjoy it. But if you just like me, you like what I'm doing, then leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below. If you want to play with us, though, you don't have to leave a comment down below. You got to join the Discord. Join the Discord, come to the behind the screen channel, so you can let me know, number one, what is it that you want to play, and number two, what your availability is. Once I have enough people with a similar availability, I can put the group together and we can begin playing. So if you want to play with us, that's how you do it. So, thank you for coming out today. I hope to see you in the Discord. If not there, I hope to see you come back here next week when we can maybe, hopefully, finish this up. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. So, I hope to see you then, and I guess until then, take care.